The person who hurt you most in this life probably shares your last name. And the worst part isn't what they did. The worst part is that you still love them. You probably still check your phone hoping they reached out. You still replay the moment it all went wrong, wondering what you could have said differently, wondering what was wrong with you. Nothing was wrong with you. But this right here, this is what we need to talk about. If you're watching this, there's a good chance you've been carrying something heavy for a long time. Maybe it's a sibling who turned on you when you needed them most. A parent who played favorites and you were never the favorite. A child you raised who now treats you like a stranger. Or a close relative who smiled to your face and said things behind your back that changed how the entire family sees you. You're not dramatic. You're not too sensitive. You're not the problem, even if they've spent years trying to convince you that you are. What this video is going to do is give you something most people never get. A real, honest explanation of why family betrayal hits differently than anything else, why it's so hard to see it clearly, and what it actually takes to stop letting it define you. You don't need advice from someone who's never been through it. You need someone to just tell you the truth. So that's what we're going to do. When a friend betrays you, it hurts. When a coworker stabs you in the back, it stings. But when it's family, it does something different to you. It doesn't just hurt your feelings. It shakes the ground under your feet. Here's why. From the time you were small, family was the one place you were supposed to be safe. That was the deal, right? The world out there could be hard and cold and unpredictable, but these people, the ones you share blood and history with, they were supposed to be different. They were supposed to be for you. So when the betrayal comes from inside that circle, it doesn't just break your trust in that one person. It breaks something older and deeper. It makes you question memories. It makes you wonder whether any of it was ever real. The holidays, the shared meals, the moments you thought were good. You start to ask, was I the only one who thought we were close? And that question, that particular question, that's the one that keeps people up at night for years. Because it isn't just grief over what happened. It's grief over a version of your life story you now have to rewrite. That's why you can't just get over it. There's no getting over rewriting your own story. People imagine family betrayal looks like a big blow-up, a shouting match, someone finally saying what they really think, but most of the time, it doesn't look like that at all. It looks like a sibling who slowly starts leaving you out. Small things. You stop getting the group texts. You hear about family decisions after they've already been made. Someone pulls your parent aside when you walk in and the conversation stops. It looks like a parent who always seemed to have a little more patience for your brother, who framed your struggles as character flaws and your siblings' identical struggles as just bad luck. It looks like a relative who asks questions that aren't really questions, they're little tests. And when you answer honestly, that information gets used against you later, in rooms you weren't invited into. The quietness of it is what makes it so hard to name. Because when you try to explain it to someone outside the family, you hear yourself and you think, this sounds so small. This sounds petty. A missed text. A conversation that went quiet when you walked in. An offhand comment at Thanksgiving that nobody else seemed to notice. But you noticed, and you noticed the one before that, and the one before that, and what you have isn't a single offense, it's a pattern. And patterns over years are not small things. They are the thing. The quiet betrayals are the ones that take longest to heal, because for the longest time, you're not even sure you have the right to call them betrayals at all. You do. This is the part nobody talks about. Not how it changes how you see them, but how it changes how you see yourself. When someone outside your family rejects you, there's some distance there. You can tell yourself, they don't really know you. They never did. Their opinion doesn't define you. But when it's your own family, people who were there from the beginning, who watched you grow, who know your whole history, it's almost impossible not to absorb what they're reflecting back at you. If your mother always treated you like the difficult one, There's a part of you that spent decades quietly believing you were, in fact, the difficult one. If your siblings excluded you, some part of you concluded there must be something in you worth excluding. If the person who raised you withheld love as a tool, gave it when you performed correctly and pulled it back when you didn't, then you learned, deep in your nervous system, that love is conditional, that you have to earn it, that you are not automatically worthy of it. That belief follows you everywhere. Into your friendships, your marriages, your work. You over-explain yourself. You shrink. You either fight for every inch of approval you can get, or you stop asking for it altogether because the asking became too costly. Neither of those is who you really are. That's who you learn to be, in that house, with those people. And recognizing that distinction, that the story you've been carrying about yourself was written by people who had their own damage, their own agendas, their own blind spots, that recognition is not small. That's actually where everything starts to shift. Here's something that's hard to say, but it needs to be said. A lot of people spend their entire lives waiting for an apology that is never coming, waiting for the parent to finally see them, waiting for the sibling to call and say, "I was wrong, and I'm sorry," waiting for the moment the family finally tells the truth about what happened. And there's nothing wrong with hopping. Hope is human, but hope, when it's aimed at the wrong target, keeps you frozen. Because here's what hope does when it's misdirected. It keeps you emotionally available to people who have shown you, again and again, that they are not emotionally available to you. You keep the door cracked. You keep showing up at family events with a quiet wish that this time will be different. You keep softening your boundaries because what if this is finally the moment they change? And sometimes, you get just enough to keep you hopping. A good phone call, a moment at a funeral where they're kind to you, a birthday text, and your nervous system floods with relief because you want so badly for the story to have a different ending. But you cannot heal a wound you refuse to stop reopening. And every time you go back expecting something different from someone who hasn't changed, you're reopening it. Accepting that someone may never give you what you deserve, that's not defeat. That's not giving up on love. That's just finally seeing clearly. And seeing clearly is the only way forward. Healing from family betrayal doesn't start with forgiveness, at least not the way people talk about forgiveness, like it's something you hand over immediately and now everything is fine. That's not real. That's a performance. Real healing starts with something much harder and much quieter. It starts with accepting what actually happened. Not the softened version, not the version where you explain away their behavior because of their own difficult childhoods, even if that context is real and true. Not the version where you take on more responsibility than you deserve so the story feels more manageable. The actual version, what they did, what it cost you, what it changed. Because a lot of people skip straight to trying to move on without ever letting themselves fully land in what happened. They stuff the grief down because grief feels like weakness, or because feeling it means admitting that someone they loved really did hurt them. And that admission is terrifying. But grief is not weakness. Grief is what happens when you finally respect yourself enough to say, "That was not okay. I deserved better." And it is okay to mourn the version of this family, the version of this relationship that I always wished I had. You are allowed to grieve that. You are allowed to sit in it. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be sad. You don't have to rush yourself toward fine. And then slowly, not all at once, you start to build something new. Not on the foundation of what your family told you you were, but on who you actually are when nobody who ever made you feel small is in the room. That person is worth getting to know. So here's where we land. If you've been in pain over someone in your family, if you've spent years trying to understand what you did wrong, or wondering if you were too much or not enough, or carrying loyalty toward people who weren't loyal to you, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not required to keep a relationship alive just because you share DNA. Blood is not a contract. Family is not automatic sanctuary. Love within a family has to be chosen, just like it has to be chosen everywhere else. And when it isn't, when the choosing stops, or when it becomes one-sided, or when the cost of belonging to that family is your sense of self, you are allowed to set that down. Setting it down doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you don't wish things were different. It doesn't mean you won't grieve. It just means you've decided that your well-being is not something you're willing to keep trading away for a connection that was never really safe. Some families do the work. Some of them find their way back to each other with honesty and accountability and real change. That happens, and if that's possible for yours, I hope it does. But some families don't. Some people go to their graves without ever acknowledging what they did. And if that's what you're facing, if you've reached the point where you know, honestly, that nothing is going to change, then your job is not to fix them. Your job is to stop letting their limitations become your life sentence. You didn't choose the family you were born into, but you are, every single day, choosing who you become. And the fact that you're here, trying to understand this, trying to name it and work through it, that says everything about you. It says you haven't given up on yourself, even when they did. If any part of this video found you, I want you to do one thing before you close it. Just one. Think of one way, just one, that you've been holding yourself responsible for someone else's inability to love you well. And let that one thing go, not forever, not perfectly, just for tonight. You are not the wound they left. You are what survived it. If this helped you feel a little less alone, hit like. It helps more people find this when they need it. Leave a comment if you want to say something, even if it's just that you were here. And subscribe if you want to keep going on this kind of conversation. Take care of yourself. You clearly know how.